my next introduction, I'm going to try not to be biased here. We had a beautiful day with amazing presenters. So in addition to a role at Joe Public Connect, Mpume is a part-time lecturer at Boston Media House and a board member of the ACA, the official representative body of the South African advertising industry. Her lockdown insight is that now is the time where brands and businesses need to understand why they exist, beyond making profit, and that brands with purpose will have the license to communicate to a very sensitive consumer out there. The topic today is advertising works if you segment correctly and understand audience insights. Welcome, Mpume.
Thanks, Pepe. Thanks, Dale. Sanbonan. It's my pleasure to be sharing my insights with you today. So Africa is a youthful population. Over half of the country's total population is between the ages of 0 and 24. There are more South Africans under 25 than people living in the whole of Australia. That being said, our industry and broader society tend to label the youth market through a much overused and frequently misused buzzword. Millennials. Yep. That's a generation born between 1980 and 1994, and yes, they're in their 40s already. They no longer characterize the youth demographically and psychographically. So who are their successors? It's Generation Z. Who the hell is Generation Z? Quick facts. It's a generation born between 1995 and 2009. They aged between 11 and 25. There's just over 13 million of them in this country. They make up almost half of the total youth segment, and they make up almost a quarter of South Africa's total population. These young people are not only the most recent entrants into our workforce or the workforce of the future, but they also continue to drive and shape the consumer landscape in ways that we as an industry have never witnessed before. They're considered to be the most disruptive generation of all time. So how does Generation Z differ from millennials? I'll walk you through a couple of key differences. Millennials are digital immigrants, whilst Generation Z is digital natives. Millennials are a sharing generation, and Generation Z is a creating generation. Millennials are strongly focused on the present or the now. Generation Z is focused on the future or tomorrow. Millennials are Generation Me. Generation Z is Generation Us. Millennials prefer communicating primarily through text, whilst Generation Z prefers communicating primarily through images. Millennials use 2 screens on average, whilst Generation Z uses up to 5 screens on average. They're a multitasking generation. Millennials are much more idealistic because they were raised during a global economic boom, whilst Generation Z is much more pragmatic because they were raised during a global economic recession. Millennials are all about a glossy, stylized, and idealized worldview, whilst Generation Z is real, natural, grungy, authentic worldview. They're #NoFilter. And lastly, millennials are strongly influenced by brand authenticity, whilst Generation Z expect brand authenticity and they're more critical of inauthenticity. Their world and how they engage with it are best captured in one keyword. That's fluidity. We call them Generation Fluid. They're fluid in terms of their perception, experience, and usage of spaces, perception, experience, and usage of time. They're fluid in their definition and expression of self, and they're fluid in ways of connecting and relating to the world. So what are the big themes for our industry to keep in mind about Generation Fluid? I'm going to walk you through 3 themes. The first theme is blurring the lines. So that is a fuzzy digital world. And what this means is that their world is not always on, but the distinction between offline and online is getting increasingly blurred. The second theme is multiple actions being their way of life. Generation Z is frequently described as being a multitasking generation, fluidly spreading time and attention across multiple devices, multiple screens, and multiple actions. With this reality in mind, there's never been a greater need to fight for the attention among so many competing brands, so many competing messages, and amid the threat of information overload. Against this backdrop, brands are rapidly looking at new ways to break through the clutter through filtering content to engage the youngest consumers. One way of doing it is through transmedia storytelling. And that's using a variety of touch points to tell a bigger story that appeals to the multimedia, multi-screen fluidity of today's youth. We've seen an increase in transmedia storytelling, where different, often bite-sized components of a story are communicated across multiple channels in order to build a holistic content experience. This is more than just multi-channel campaign thinking or repurposing the same content across different platforms. It's about creating a seamless content experience to keep users engaged in a singular narrative across a variety of content formats. The third and final theme is about innovative cross-functional relationships. We're seeing more brands breaking down silos, forming unexpected cross-functional relationships and partnerships against the so-called sharing economy. This is where we're seeing unexpected brand relationships, which lead to fluid collaborations and supercharged innovation. Now, I'm going to take you through some work which I feel demonstrates the manifestation of these trends. Some will be international trends in work. I've thrown in some couple of Joe Public pieces. Let's get to it. The first theme I'm going to highlight is the blending or blurring of lines between the physical and digital world. Now, how many of you currently have brands that execute influencer strategies? This is Zilma Kela. She's an influencer that has 2.4 million fans on Instagram, a squad of influencer friends. She's featured in several campaigns for Calvin Klein and Prada. She supports social justice movements around transgender rights, hashtag Black Lives Matter, immigration, and gun control. Here, she's being featured in the latest Samsung Galaxy campaign, along with other well-known artists and creatives.
Everything seemed unimaginable when I was just a few lines of code. I love creating new things, achieving the impossible. That's what being part of Team Galaxy is all about.
Hashtag squad goals. Lil Makela likes to do what most influencers do. They hang out with their bestie, take selfies, do product placements, go to the most exclusive music events and get paid for it. Lil Makela also, her squad consists of Bermuda and Blacko. Bermuda and Blacko used to date, and they're both influencers in their own right. Blacko also has a YouTube channel. Lil Makela is also a pop princess. She's released several pop singles on Spotify, which have amassed millions and millions of streams. But she's not human. Lil Makela is a virtual influencer created by a startup company, Brud. So the question is, could virtual influencers be the future of advertising, ads, fashion, and commerce? And there are others. Balmain, a luxury boutique, has added virtual models in their stable and created the world's virtual supermodel, Shudu, along with virtual companions, Margot and G. Another big theme I mentioned was transmedia storytelling, engaging your users across several content pieces, giving them content formats that suit those spaces. Our next piece is Joe Public's brand, Licken. Let's see what happens when a sister needs some soul.
Did you put the board in boardroom? Or want to hide your look with a duke? Yeah, girl. Sometimes a sister just needs some soul. In the past, Licken ads featured male heroes. Now, for the first time in our history, we put the spotlight on 3 strong female leads for the soul sister meals in 6 short films. Oops, oops, you got got a new look. We backed up sisters and even some misters. Your son is
gay. Guess what?
Online, we reminded women they were already all that. We also surprised sisters in their favorite playlist on Spotify. Jump in the truck, it's time to go. That bikini body's so ready. Girl, let it show. Then fans could nominate their besties who needed backup in real life with hashtag Need a Soul Sister.
Now on my soul, we're here with some soul. Your bestie thinks you're the best. That's kind of the goal. She says you're always there with your true colors.
This was all part of a transmedia storytelling campaign that kept the soul fire burning. With custom gifts and stickers available across multiple platforms, the sisters showed up as support in people's everyday lives, becoming part of social and private conversations. And with so many tactical opportunities to make use of, the results brought a whole lot of soul. Not to mention, inspiring the next generation of soul sisters.
She's hers. You do what you do.
Did you put the...
Oh. Now, this next case study represents a good example of the next big theme of cross-functional collaborations that demonstrate the mega trends of collaboration, co-creation, and convergence. This piece of work is from Joe Public. It highlights the co-sharing and the collaboration trend, where the brand facilitates the sharing of personal stories of women who are breaking boundaries in their converse. The concept did not prescribe script lines to the narrators, but rather it let them authentically share their stories as they should. All their stories are true.
Everybody needs to tell their story, and everybody needs to be heard.
My hair matters to me because my hair is an expression of who I am.
I try and challenge what is seen as the norm.
I'm just trying to change people's way of thinking about spinning.
When I started dancing, women were always put in the back.
We showed what we were capable of.
The world needs more female voices.
The revolution is still unfolding, and it is young and definitely female.
Again, these moments were unscripted, and the brand facilitated telling unique stories that can bridge a gap with a more fluid consumer. So what does the future hold from a communication perspective? Invest in the places your users are spending time. Are they listening to podcasts? Are they on Showmax, Netflix, TV, on radio? How do they listen to music or do their research? YouTube presents many opportunities. Be prosumer. Be more relatable. Let go and let your audience do the talking. Consumers are demanding brands that have a purpose and are conscious just like them. Don't just pretend to be something and everything. Show your audience who you are and put your campaigns to action in real life. South Africa has 11 official languages. Tailor your message. Speak directly to your consumer in an authentic, local, human way. If it doesn't make sense for you, it doesn't mean it's not a good idea. It's just not for you. The point is to have a team that is diverse and young enough to bridge the gap in your organization. We need to be as fluid as generation fluid. Thank you.